Have you ever been home alone, maybe sitting in your favorite chair, when you suddenly feel a strange pang in your chest? And for just a split second, a cold fear washes over you as you think, what if? That fleeting moment of fear. It's not an overreaction. It's your intuition sounding an alarm. Because here's the terrifying reality no one wants to talk about. The hard fact is, almost half of all heart attack deaths happen before a person ever makes it to the hospital. Not in an ambulance. Not in the ER. But at home. Alone. Why? Because they waste precious minutes. I've worked in emergency rooms for over 30 years, and I need you to hear me clearly. This isn't something I read in a book. It's something I've lived. Most people over 60 will not survive their first heart attack if they're alone. That's not a statistic to scare you. It's a fact I've had to witness day after day. Every single day, I see the aftermath. The families were shattered. The patients carried into my ER. Patients who could have lived, if only they had known what to do in those first critical moments at home. I see the look in their eyes when they arrive too late, when that golden window for survival has already slammed shut. But here's why I'm making this video. Here is the good news. Your survival doesn't have to be left to chance. I'm here to arm you. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 simple, science-backed steps that can double your odds of making it through, even if you are completely alone. And please, stay with me until the end. Because tip number 3. It's so simple, you might overlook it. Yet it's so powerful that research shows it can make the difference between permanent damage and walking out of that hospital to see your family again. Now, what I'm about to share isn't myths or old wives' tales. These are real, life-saving strategies that cardiologists teach their own patients. Every claim is backed by solid science, and I've linked all the medical studies for you in the description below. Before we dive in, I truly want to know, how many of us have felt that same cold fear I described? If that feeling sounds familiar, if you've ever had that what-if moment, please just take a second to comment a simple yes below. It shows others in our community that they are not alone. Okay, let's begin. Alright, let's begin with the very first step, the one that could decide if you make it out alive. Tip number 7. Call 911. Immediately. The single deadliest mistake I see in my 3 decades in the emergency room isn't a medical one. It's hesitation. It's the quiet voice of doubt that whispers in your ear during a moment of crisis. People tell themselves, oh, it's probably just indigestion from dinner, or the one that truly breaks my heart, I don't want to be a bother. As we get older, we grow accustomed to the daily chorus of aches and pains. We pride ourselves on being tough, on not complaining about every little thing. It's a noble trait, born from a lifetime of resilience, but in this one specific situation, that very toughness can be fatal. You see, in cardiology, we have a saying that I wish were taught in every school. Time is muscle. For every single minute that blood flow is blocked from reaching your heart, a part of that precious, living muscle dies. It's a part you can never, ever get back. This isn't just a theory. It's a biological certainty. That's why those telltale symptoms, the crushing pressure in your chest, like an elephant is sitting on you, the sudden, unnerving shortness of breath, that unexplained wave of nausea, or that eerie, cold sweat that has nothing to do with the temperature in the room, are not suggestions. They are emergency sirens from your own body. I'll never forget a gentleman we'll call Robert, a 68-year-old grandfather from Ohio. He felt that pressure one evening while watching the news. He told himself it was just gas, drank some water, and sat down to wait it out. He waited for hours, not wanting to wake his family. By the time his daughter found him and called 911, the damage was irreversible. The doctors had to deliver the words no family ever wants to hear. If only he'd called right away. This isn't just my experience. The American Heart Association backs this up with hard numbers. Their research shows that patients who get emergency help within the first 5 to 10 minutes have survival odds up to 50% higher. 50%. That's taking a coin toss for your life and turning the odds overwhelmingly in your favor, all with a simple phone call. So, here is your first life-saving action. I want you to make a pact with yourself, right now. Act as if it is a heart attack until a doctor tells you otherwise. Pick up the phone and dial 911. No hesitation. Remember what I tell all my patients. Your family would infinitely rather have a false alarm than a funeral. Please make the call. Tip number 6. Chew an aspirin. Once you've made that all-important call, there's another move that can dramatically shift the battle in your favor. And it involves something many of you probably have in your medicine cabinet right now. But here's the crucial detail that most people get wrong. You don't swallow it. You chew it. Why is this so important? Because in this moment, aspirin is not a pain reliever. It is one of the most powerful, fast-acting clot-fighting drugs available without a prescription. A heart attack happens because a blood clot, like a dam in a river, is blocking the flow of life-giving blood to your heart. Aspirin works by making the blood less sticky, preventing the dam from getting any bigger, and allowing some blood to trickle past the blockage. The science on this is crystal clear. A landmark study published in the prestigious medical journal, The Lancet, found that this single action reduced the risk of death during a heart attack by a staggering 23%. But speed is everything. When you swallow a pill, it has to travel to your stomach and break down, a process that can take 10 to 12 precious minutes. By chewing it, you break it apart instantly, allowing the active ingredient to be absorbed through the lining of your mouth and get into your bloodstream within just minutes. Those saved minutes are minutes where your heart muscle is being saved. I remember Frank, a 70-year-old retired bus driver. He was alone when he felt that crushing pressure. But he remembered his doctor's advice. While he was on the phone with 911, he grabbed the aspirin from his cabinet and chewed it. Paramedics later told him that a simple action kept his blood flowing just enough to prevent catastrophic damage. He walked out of that hospital alive and independent. Now, it is critical to state, if you have a known allergy to aspirin, a bleeding disorder, or if your doctor has specifically told you not to take it, you must skip this step. For everyone else, keeping a bottle of uncoated, 325 mg aspirin in an easy-to-reach place is a non-negotiable part of your home safety plan. Think of it as sending in the first wave of reinforcements to slow down the disaster until the full rescue team arrives. This is so important. If you promise to check your medicine cabinet for the right kind of aspirin after this video, please comment the word promise below. Let's hold each other accountable. Tip number 5. Loosen tight clothing and sit upright. When your body is in crisis, every little thing matters. And one of the simplest, yet most overlooked survival actions, is to immediately relieve any physical pressure on your body. The natural instinct for many, when panicked and in pain, is to lie down or curl up. This feels protective, but it's actually one of the worst things you can do. Here's the physiology behind it. During a heart attack, your heart is struggling, desperate to pump oxygen through blocked arteries. When you lie flat, you increase the amount of blood returning to the heart, forcing it to work even harder when it's already at its weakest. Furthermore, this position puts pressure on your diaphragm and lungs, making each breath more difficult. For seniors, whose lungs may already have reduced capacity or pre-existing conditions like COPD, this extra strain can be the tipping point. By simply sitting upright, preferably in a chair with your back supported, you use gravity to your advantage. It allows your lungs to fully expand, making breathing easier. It reduces pressure inside your chest, which in turn lowers the workload on your struggling heart. A clinical review in the European Heart Journal confirmed that this upright positioning helps reduce something called pulmonary congestion. That's the medical term for fluid building up in the lungs, which creates the terrifying feeling of drowning or suffocation. Think about Eleanor, a 74-year-old woman from Florida who felt chest pressure while she was out gardening. Instead of panicking and lying down on the grass, her instincts told her to get to a patio chair. She sat down, loosened her apron and the waistband of her pants, and focused on her breathing while she waited for the ambulance. Her doctor later told her that this small decision likely prevented her from fainting and collapsing. That tiny adjustment kept her heart from being overwhelmed by the strain. It's a step so simple that we often dismiss it, but it's rooted in pure, simple physics. It's about giving your body the best possible chance. So, if you feel those telltale signs, your first physical move should be to loosen your belt, your collar, and any clothing that restricts you. Then, find a seat, sit upright, and let your shoulders relax. Think of it as giving your heart and lungs room to breathe. It's a moment of stability you create for yourself in the middle of a storm. Tip number 4. Cough strongly if you feel faint. This next technique sounds strange. It sounds almost too simple to be true, but in those terrifying seconds when you feel the world starting to go dark, it can be the one thing that keeps you conscious long enough for help to arrive. Doctors sometimes refer to it as a form of cough CPR. Let me be very clear. This is not a cure for a heart attack, and it is not a replacement for medical treatment. It is an emergency, last resort measure to be used only if you feel yourself getting dizzy, lightheaded, or about to pass out. Fainting during a heart attack is usually caused by a sudden drop in blood flow to the brain as the heart's rhythm becomes chaotic or weak. That's where the cough comes in. The principle is straightforward. When you cough deeply and forcefully from your diaphragm, you dramatically increase the pressure inside your chest. That pressure squeezes the heart, forcing blood out of it and up into the brain. In essence, each powerful cough acts as a single, artificial heartbeat, manually keeping you conscious when your circulation is failing. Research published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology documented cases where repeated, strong coughing during cardiac events kept patients conscious and maintained their blood pressure until emergency treatment could be administered. Imagine James, a 69-year-old retired mechanic in Texas, alone in his workshop when that wave of dizziness hit him. He felt his vision start to narrow. He was going down. But he remembered hearing about this technique. He began to cough, hard and deep, again and again. He told me it was the only thing he could focus on. Those coughs kept him on his feet and conscious just long enough for the paramedics to burst through the door. His doctors were amazed. They said those coughs likely prevented him from collapsing and suffering irreversible brain damage before they could restart his heart properly. So, if you ever find yourself in this dire situation, and you feel your body going limp or your head starting to spin, this is your action plan. Take as deep a breath as you can, then cough hard and strong, as if you're trying to clear something from deep in your lungs. Repeat it every 2 to 3 seconds. You are manually pumping your own heart, buying yourself precious seconds. I bet many of you have never heard this before. If this is new to you, comment "wow" below. It helps me understand what information is most valuable to you. Tip number 3. Unlock your door and keep your phone nearby. When you're fighting for your life, every single second is a gift. But those seconds can be lost, not by your body, but by a simple, physical barrier, a locked door. This next tip is one of the most overlooked, yet it is one of the most powerful because it clears the path for your rescuers. When you are alone and in the middle of a medical emergency, you are in a race against time. And the time is muscle rule doesn't just apply to you. It applies to the paramedics on the other side of that door. They are trained to force entry if they have to, but breaking down a door or finding another way in takes time. It takes minutes. And as we've established, minutes are everything. Studies on emergency response have shown that for every 10 minutes of delay in treatment, survival rates can drop by nearly 10%. Imagine surviving the initial attack, only to lose the battle because help was stuck on your doorstep. This is a lesson I learned through 2 very different stories. The first was about Arthur, a 73-year-old widower. He made the call to 911, but collapsed on the floor before he could get to the door. The paramedics arrived in minutes, but had to waste precious time forcing their way inside. By the time they reached him, too much damage had been done. Contrast that with the story of Grace, an 80-year-old woman who lived alone. When she felt chest pain, she called 911. Then, she did 2 things. She walked to her front door and unlocked it. Then she took her phone, sat in a chair right by the entryway, and waited. The paramedics walked right in, started treatment immediately, and got her to the hospital. She survived with only minor heart damage. The difference between those 2 outcomes was a simple deadbolt. The second half of this tip is just as critical. Keep your phone with you. So many seniors I know have a habit of leaving their phone plugged into a charger in another room. But during a heart attack, even walking a few steps can be enough to trigger a collapse. Having your phone right next to you, or even in your hand, ensures you can stay on the line with the 911 dispatcher. They can give you instructions, keep you calm, and know your exact status until help arrives. Your phone is your lifeline. Your unlocked door is the bridge that allows that lifeline to reach you. Together, they eliminate deadly delays and buy back the time you cannot afford to lose. Tip number 2. Take slow, deep breaths. In the middle of a heart attack, there are 2 battles being fought. One is physical, inside your chest. The other is mental, inside your head. And panic. Panic is your absolute worst enemy. When that wave of fear and terror takes over, your body shifts into fight or flight mode. It releases a flood of stress hormones like adrenaline, which is the last thing your struggling heart needs. This hormonal surge makes your heart beat faster and harder, and it raises your blood pressure, demanding even more oxygen from a system that is already starving. That's why one of the most powerful actions you can take is also one of the quietest. You must take control of your breathing. Slow, deep, deliberate breaths do two critical things simultaneously. First, they maximize the amount of oxygen getting into your lungs and your blood, providing vital fuel to your oxygen-deprived brain and heart. Second, and perhaps more importantly, this type of breathing sends a direct signal to your nervous system to calm down. It acts as a brake on that surge of stress hormones, helping to lower your heart rate and reduce the strain. This isn't just about feeling calm. It's about creating a calmer biological environment for your heart to survive in. Research published in the Journal of Cardiopulmonary Rehabilitation and Prevention has shown that slow, controlled breathing can effectively reduce heart rate and improve oxygen saturation, even in patients with advanced cardiovascular disease. I remember a patient named Margaret, a 76-year-old retired nurse. She described how, as the crushing pressure in her chest grew, her training kicked in. She resisted the urge to gasp for air. Instead, she sat upright, closed her eyes, and focused on one thing and one thing only, her breath. She told me she could feel the panic trying to take over, but she just kept breathing. Inhale through the nose, exhale slowly through the mouth. By the time paramedics arrived, she was weak, but she was conscious and lucid. Her cardiologist later told her that those steady breaths likely kept her heart from spiraling into a more dangerous rhythm and maintained enough oxygen flow to her brain to prevent a collapse. Here is how you do it. Place a hand on your stomach. Inhale slowly and deeply through your nose for a count of 4, feeling your belly rise. Then, exhale even slower through pursed lips, like you're blowing through a straw, for a count of 6. Each deep breath is you actively buying yourself more time. Time for oxygen to circulate. Time for your heart to ease its workload. And time for help to arrive. Tip number 1. Stay as calm and still as possible. We have arrived at the final, and perhaps the most counterintuitive, rule of survival. When a heart attack strikes, your primal instinct might scream at you to do something. To get up. To pace. To try and walk it off. But that instinct, in this moment, can be deadly. The single most important survival rule is this. Stay as calm and as still as you possibly can. Every step you take, every sudden movement, forces your weakened heart to pump harder and faster. Think of your heart during an attack like a fragile engine that is running on its very last fumes. Any attempt to accelerate, to demand more from it, risks blowing that engine apart. By keeping your body still and calm, you are doing the most important job of all. You are conserving every single ounce of precious oxygen and energy, giving yourself the absolute best chance of surviving until help arrives. The science is simple and brutal. During a heart attack, the heart muscle isn't getting enough blood. Movement demands more oxygen-rich blood from the muscles in your body. But with its supply line cut off, the heart can't meet that demand. The extra strain only increases the area of damage. A clinical study in the European Heart Journal found that minimizing physical exertion during these acute cardiac episodes directly reduced complications and improved patient outcomes. In plain English, the people who stayed still had a better chance of living than those who moved around in a panic. I think of Henry, a 71-year-old farmer in Nebraska. He felt that crushing pressure while he was fixing a piece of equipment. His first thought was to climb back up the ladder to get his phone from his truck. Instead, something told him to stop. He forced himself to stay put, slid down to the ground, and called for help right where he was. Paramedics later told him that had he tried to climb that ladder, the exertion would have almost certainly caused his heart to fail completely. Staying still kept his heart from collapsing under the stress. Calmness isn't just physical, it's mental. As we discussed, panicking floods your body with adrenaline. By consciously focusing on staying still and pairing it with the slow, deep breathing we just talked about, you create a powerful synergy. You lower that hormonal surge and help keep your body as stable as possible. Your only job, after you have called for help, is to be a patient. Tell yourself, Help is on the way. My only job now is to stay still and breathe. This simple mindset prevents rash decisions, like trying to walk to the door or grab something from across the room. These are the actions that can trigger a final collapse. Do less, breathe more, and let help come to you. And there you have it. 7 life-saving tips to survive a heart attack when you are all alone. We started this conversation talking about that cold, isolating moment of fear. That feeling of being completely powerless when you're alone and something feels terribly wrong in your chest. But I hope that after our time together today, you feel that fear starting to fade, replaced by something much stronger. Confidence. Because now, you are no longer powerless. You have a map. You have a plan. You have knowledge. From the critical first step of calling 911 without a moment's hesitation, to chewing an aspirin to fight the clot, to loosening your clothing and sitting upright to help your heart, to using a powerful cough to stay conscious, unlocking your door to clear the way for help, breathing deeply to calm the storm inside, and finally, the profound wisdom of staying completely still. Each of these actions is a link in a chain of survival. A chain that you now know how to build, minute by minute. Remember the stories of Robert, who hesitated, and Grace, who acted. The difference between tragedy and survival often comes down to knowing these simple, powerful steps. A heart attack doesn't always give you a second chance. But preparing for one, that does. And the knowledge you've gained today, especially after 60, is the most powerful tool you have to protect yourself. As we wrap up, we've explored these 7 critical actions that can truly be the difference between life and death. But as I always say, knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So now, I have one important question for you. What is the one commitment you are making to yourself and your loved ones after watching this video? It could be as simple as, I will put a bottle of uncoated aspirin on my nightstand tomorrow, or I will practice the deep breathing technique every evening. Please share your personal commitment in the comments below. Reading your promises inspires me, and more importantly, your words will inspire others in our community to take that first crucial step. And if you found real value and hope in our time together, show your support by giving this video a like. To ensure you continue on this journey with us and never miss another video full of life-saving wisdom, hit that subscribe button. It's more than just subscribing. It's joining a community dedicated to living our best, safest lives together. Finally, think of one person. Just one person you love who needs to hear this message today, and please share it with them. You might just save a life. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next video.